Live in Nashville, Tennessee. You are listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. Nashville's #1 daily podcast. Brought to you by Think Nashville. Think Nashville. Think Brad. Think Brad. It's Nashville Daily Podcast.
Hey, good morning, Nashville, and welcome to the Nashville Daily Podcast. I'm Stuart Deming, and today's episode is brought to you by Brad Reynolds. If you're looking for real estate here in the Middle Tennessee market, make sure to contact Brad at thinkbrad.com. That's Brad at thinkbrad.com or 615-856-3270. Also, while you're following people, potentially following Brad on his YouTube channel, make sure to check out our YouTube channels as well. We have Nashville Daily Podcast, Explore.Nash, Explore Tennessee. We're bringing you all the channels. And we have a few other social channels as well. You can follow us on Instagram at Nashville Daily Podcast. And Instagram is explore.nash. That's XPLR.Nash. And Explore Tennessee is really easy. It's XPLR.TN on Instagram. We have websites for all of those as well. So if you want to learn more about Nashville and get into the weeds of what we do, you can. So we're going to be talking about a few fascinating things today. The first one's going to be the thoughts of the FAA and their takeover of their thoughts of the state takeover of the Metro International Airport Authority Board. It's a long title. And then also we're going to talk about the upcoming storms. And joining us today is a dear friend of mine, Michael Johnson, who was formerly a radio promoter here in Nashville, but now he is an author. He owns a nonprofit called Future Marriage University. I've taken his classes. Michael, who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, well, I'm here because of my mom. That's true of everybody. You can't be here without a mom. But seriously, she gave me a book Christmas of my junior year in college. Thought it was the lamest book in the world. It was a book on marriage. I didn't even have a girlfriend at the time. I was like, okay, I get it, Mom. You want grandkids. But I read that book that
Just
Christmas.
a subtle way, hey, have grandkids.
Yeah. I read the book Christmas my junior year, and my mind was actually blown because I saw a lot of the problems my parents were having in their marriage, and yet the people that wrote this book were figuring it out. And I was like, oh, wow, so marriage can be really hard, be really rewarding. So after about 10 years of marriage, which incidentally, I started dating the girl I wound up marrying within 30 days of having read that book. After 10 years.
Is that a date tip? Read that book and then find something?
Well, actually what the date tip is read and prepare for marriage like you would a successful career. That's what the message is. So after 10 years of marriage, I felt like my mom wanted me to go back and reread that book, which was not this one, by the way. This is the one that I wrote, and it's not even a marriage book. It's actually about dating. Date like you know what you're doing. But that said, I went and read that book to trick other people into doing what my mom tricked me into doing. Because it's worked out pretty well. We're about to celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary here in November. Yeah, it's no big deal. It only feels like 60 years. But I hope she's not going to listen to this, is she?
She probably is.
She probably is. Yeah. I'm going to get another one of these.
On the other side?
Yeah. Matching. They look like I got like teardrops or something. Anyway, that's what I'm here. We empower students and young adults to grow spiritually and date wisely so they can marry well.
Awesome. And I'm Aaron Pennington. Michael, it is awesome to have you.
It's great to be here.
Today. I'm very excited about this.
The last time we had you on the podcast, I think was like episode 35 or 36.
Yep. How marriage can be more fun than a nudist colony.
Yeah. So we talked about marriage and nudist colonies. And then we also recorded that episode in Brentwood Baptist. I remember
the words are continuously reverberating the halls of Brentwood Baptist.
Yes. We walk in, there's a ghost of that episode in Brentwood Baptist.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit more about FMU here in a little bit, but we had a lot of news come through
last night,
Nashville. Yeah, yesterday and last night. It was continuing. Before we get into the news, I know nobody really wants to hear about another round of impending storms, but here we are. And it is coming through already. And let
me talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
So Nashville is notorious for very big storms. Middle Tennessee, they haven't confirmed how many tornadoes have touched down, but when I was looking at the news this morning, it was probably closer to the like 20 or 30 number of tornadoes that touched down between Arkansas here and Indiana, maybe even closer to 35. Like they're trying to still figure that out. But one thing that we do, we're launching here is Explore Tours. And Explore Tours is a company that we're launching here, and it's going to be tours of Nashville and of Middle Tennessee. And on those tours, especially the history of Nashville walking tours, some of the things that we talk about is the significant weather that has impacted Nashville over the last 200 years.
Yeah.
Because there is some big storms that we talk about. The flooding in the 70s, potentially the flooding in the 2010. We talk about the tornadoes. Basically, the last 10 decades, there's been big tornadoes in this area. So we talk about a lot of the history of the weather and what's happening here in the Middle Tennessee market. So we'll be talking about Explore Tours more in depth tomorrow and maybe even later on this episode. But what's happening with this weather, Aaron?
Okay, so it's one of those things where I talked about Michael on yesterday's show. I have this, those crazy theories you develop as like younger people. You're like, oh, this is just the way the world works, even though you're wrong. It's your own theory because it's your experience, and you're like, this is my view of how the world works, kind of thing.
Yep.
I was convinced that driving from Nashville to Kentucky over the past 10 years, it would always storm over the weekend. So I never had a good drive from Nashville to Kentucky. So I was convinced that Nashville was doomed with bad weekend weather, which is what we've had over the past 2 weekends. We've had severe storms over the past few weekends. But now the tide has turned, and looks like the weekdays are going to get us a little bit now. This is coming a little bit sooner than the weekend. I was looking at the Tennessee, and they're talking about another round of severe weather to hit Middle Tennessee Wednesday afternoon and evening. Tomorrow, main threats will be damaging straight line winds, large hail.
Yeah.
And a few tornadoes are possible.
A few. What's
during
classified
this.
A few? 30, 10, 3?
1 or 2. I'm probably 1 or 2.
I would say that's a couple.
Probably
1 or 2.
It is a couple. And we'll be talking about couples later today too. So that's how
Look
fitting.
at that segue.
But wind of 60 miles an hour, straight line winds, quarter-sized hail tomorrow as well. A wind could take down trees, power outages, property damage from the hail. So there will be significant cloud to ground lightning.
Bring your dogs inside and send your cats outside.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Cats can handle it.
They can.
They'll find a tree, and then the tree's falling, and then you hear a cat jumping.
That was the worst cat sound ever, but I just did.
1 to 8 p.m. tomorrow. So now you know what time to let the animals in and out.
Got it. I don't actually have animals.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
That's what's happening tomorrow. One other thing that I really noticed that was happening yesterday, the Tennessee covered this as well. The FAA has intervened. Intervened is like a very loose word because they just wrote a letter. Like, that's not really intervening. It's pretty strong language for intervening. So a lot of people have intervened, if that's the case, by writing a letter.
We should write a letter.
We intervened.
We intervened.
So the FAA, an FAA official has intervened, and a plan for everybody who maybe has been paying attention to this kind of knows the details. But the Tennessee Republicans are putting forth some legislation, and if that legislation makes it all the way through, they would be replacing the current Airport Authority Board, which has a lot of Nashville people, I believe, with Tennessee people from the state.
Appointed from Tennessee people.
That's right,
Yes.
yeah.
And then
So-
there will be one person that represents the county.
Yes.
And part of the interesting thing about this is this is basically what happened is the city of Nashville denied the RNC in 2024 coming to Nashville. And the state's like, yeah, you're going to play that game. We're going to play this game. So they've been talking about this for the last 2 months, taking over the board. I believe it's passed 1 or 2 committees already.
The proposed bill is scheduled to be heard in the House today.
Oh. So it's gone through committees. It's going to the House, and then it's going to go to the Senate, and then from there it's going to go Governor Billsley's desk, and if he vetoes it goes back to the Senate.
So that's that's happening today. The FAA Office of Airport Compliance and Management Analysis, they have a director, Kevin Willis. He said the agency has questions regarding the potential impact of the transfer of the appointment.
I think everyone has questions.
They see that the bill has been kind of contentious because it takes power away from Nashville's mayor, who currently appoints all of the board members, like we had talked about. If approved, the 11-member commission would include 10 members appointed by state leaders. One would be left to the mayor. So really a big flip in power there.
The interesting thing is, yes, Nashville.
Did you say flippin' power?
Flippin', real flippin' power.
Who's exercising the flippin' power in here? I want to know.
They're flipping the coordinates. But the really interesting thing is, yes, a lot of Nashville residents use the airport. But I would guarantee more people outside of Nashville use the airport than Nashville residents.
It's just, I mean,
I met somebody the other day. He drives from Arkansas. He doesn't go to Memphis because Memphis has terrible flight patterns and flight paths. He drives from Arkansas to here to fly out of Nashville.
Wow.
And so he does that like every week. But like I've talked to a bunch of people, and so there's probably way more people coming even from out of state than just locally flying in and out of Nashville.
Yeah, it is very interesting. It really makes you think, like, how did it get to be, how did it originally take place to decide, the mayor's going to appoint everybody? It makes you really think, how did it go to the mayor, not the state? And then, how did it make it so easy to undo as well?
It's really interesting. So, like, we did an episode on this probably 300 episodes ago, which is crazy. But we did an episode on some of the history of the airports in the Middle Tennessee area. And at one time, I think it was by the 60s or 70s, there was 10 regional airports in this area. So there's John C. Toon, there was the one over in East Nashville. There was a lot. There's still about 10 now, give or take. The Smyrna, the John C. Toon.
Yeah, there's one. There's the business one in Gallatin.
Yeah, there's one in Gallatin. We heard that there's one coming to Spring Hill.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
But that won't be for 5 to 10 years. So you're not going to be flying out of Spring Hill anytime soon, Michael. But it's really interesting because I don't know if all of those regional airports have a board as well. I assume some of them do. I don't know.
Probably,
somebody that's more intelligent than me and that knows this stuff, comment below.
They probably do, probably not like this. So mainly the FAA's concern is that the entire process, they say it's pretty much violating a federal rule that requires FAA approval for significant changes in airport operations. Doug Crulin, if anybody knows that name, he is the head
president
of
CEO, I believe.
Yeah, of BNA. He's the president also of the Tennessee Association of Air Carrier Airports. He responded to this back on Sunday, according to his copy of the letter. So he also intervened. So he provided that letter to the Tennessean. He said the board has conducted significant legal review of the state legislation and concluded that it does not violate aviation regulations.
Okay.
So
we'll see what happens.
As soon as I read that, I immediately said, if Doug wanted to cause a stir and delay this thing, he would have said, yes, it violates everything. Come and intervene.
Yep.
With another letter.
Yeah, write a stronger letter.
Stronger worded, pointed letter.
Yeah, send 2. And but I kind of saw this as like, he is gonna let what has happened happen, or he's okay with it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens in the House, and then it'll go Senate, and then Governor Bill Lee.
Yep. So the FAA hasn't said anything else.
The council tonight is they're talking about the Titan Stadium.
Yeah, they are.
At least one reading of the Titan Stadium.
They are. I think that's going to be stuck there for a while.
We have a lot to cover over the next couple weeks.
Michael, remind me, you are a
Titans fan.
Yes. Nashville.
Isn't that
native?
sad? No, well, sort of. We've been here since 2001. Doesn't that count?
I think so.
I think you've got the local card.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. So I grew up.
Where do you apply for a locals card here?
Exactly. Then at the local card office, I got my card.
Where would Stuart? We've both been here for 10 years, so we're eligible. Where do you think they would put the locals card office?
Hopefully not next to the DMV, or else you're just screwed.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting
it would have to be somewhere where like only locals who've been here for that long would know.
like
it's like a restaurant, like a speakeasy.
Kind of like
a secret door.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh, that's better than the DM. Actually, I think you need a secret
I think
code.
you have to answer like 100 questions.
Like a
It's
riddle,
it's
like the riddle in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
It's either that or like it's becoming like a U.S. citizen, but like you have to answer all of these questions, becoming like a Nashville local.
Yeah,
I think we could set that up. I think we could easily set that up.
that would be awesome.
Michael, you and I met at the church that I initially moved here for. So I moved here to work for a church down in Franklin, Tennessee, and that was called Rolling Hills Community Church. And I was a resident over their young adult program. So basically, I was planning and executing all of their young adult events.
Not executing
the young adults. But
No, that'd be wrong.
But I was planning, and then you started to attend that church pretty immediately after I moved down here for that. And then you and I met.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I met almost 10 years ago, exactly to the date. It's coming up soon.
Wow.
We're getting there. But
We're about to have our 10-year anniversary, Stuart.
and my beard is about to have my 10-year anniversary.
Oh, my goodness.
So there's a bunch of 10-year anniversaries happening.
Does that mean I knew you before the beard?
No.
Okay,
It was
I've always
right
known you.
after.
All right.
You've always known me with a beard.
Okay, I was like, I don't remember that.
You would remember me clean
I mean, I'm
'cause I look
seeing,
like a
I'm seeing
child.
you like in the crib, and you just got this like manly beard.
Somebody needs to make a cartoon of
Stuart.
like a baby Stuart, but with a full beard.
I just
do
had
that.
baby
Victor.
shark pop, baby Stuart.
Victor, we could we'll have some work for you.
Speaking of beard, you've got the chops
The lamb
going.
chops.
What inspired the chops?
My wife, she wants the kissing zone clear of hair, and yet I wanted to try the facial hair thing, so that really only left me the opposite. This is basically the opposite of the Fu Manchu, you know, where it's just like all the hair is here. No, this is all shaved, and then a kid one time said, "It looks like you're wearing headphones on your neck." Like the headphones are here. Can you even see? Look at that.
Yeah.
Just get a load of those.
Do you ever feel the need
Yes.
to be a Civil War reenactor just because you qualify with the chops?
Yeah, I could do it. I could do it. I don't want to represent the Union, though. I'm sorry, Southerners, but yeah.
You do or you don't?
I would rather. Yeah, I would not. I love the South, but
Going Team Union.
yeah.
I don't know who I'll go for.
Are you kidding me?
The better outfits, maybe. I don't know.
The better outfit.
We'll have a fashion show.
I would be a
We'll
spy.
see.
I think from both. For make money.
A double-
for myself,
double agent.
Double agent. Yeah. Michael, so when you and I met, you were originally a radio promoter.
Correct.
So what was your experience like in the music industry here?
Well,
in
of
Nashville?
course, like everybody else, that's what brought me to Nashville, Franklin specifically. But yeah, I called Christian radio stations and begged them to listen to certain songs, hoping that when they heard it, they would hear what I'd hear and maybe they'd put it on the radio. So K-Love, Air One, The Fish, all the stations. And I did that, loved it. It was great. But at the same time, I saw again, this is the Christian music industry. This is, theoretically supposed to be like family friendly and everything like that. But I just saw an environment where the marriages weren't healthy. And there was a snot load of single people that looked no closer to getting married than they were closer to becoming president of the United States. And my heart just kind of went out to them because when Julie and I got married, neither of us were we were not more marriageable than the average Christian person. We just weren't. We were, I was an only child. I had a lot of issues. Julie came from a house where her parents almost divorced, but then didn't. And, it was a mess. And, so we had a lot of baggage and we had a lot of our own issues. And yet somehow, some way, we, again, partially by reading a book before I fell in love. Because when you go to premarital counseling, you already have love chemicals going to the head, inhibiting clear thinking. You already have a relationship to defend. So even if you get the best information in the world, you're missing it. Whereas
even premarital counseling, it's only 6 sessions. Like it's
well, shouldn't that be enough for a lifetime? Come on, Stuart.
no.
Well,
exactly.
And most people are in Tennessee are just doing it to get the discount on the license.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that a good reason? Isn't saving money important?
Sure.
So all that to say, I mean, having that preparation ahead of time when I didn't have the love chemicals, didn't have the relationship to defend, I actually internalized what was in that book, which is exactly what we want what we're trying to do with our classes and blog posts. By the way, we are online, fmuniversity.net. F as in future, M as in marriage, university.net. That's all our social media too, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, although I never tweet, but YouTube, where we have
You have like
260,
videos?
yeah, it's not quite 300, it's like 260 plus YouTube videos up there now, all on the topics of sex, dating, and relationships. They're not sex videos, mind you. They're informative videos about developing relationships in a healthy way by putting off that sex component so that you can actually get to know the person as a human being with feelings and thoughts and dreams and hopes and strengths and weaknesses.
Do you ever get flagged by like website things because you have the word sex on there?
Yeah, sometimes. And well, like the whole thing with when we did the podcast before about how marriage can be more fun than a nudist colony, we actually had real life nudists attack our Facebook page.
Are you serious?
Yes,
After
they were
that episode.
They were no. This was actually no.
I was like, wow.
Clarifying. This is like years before that when we were doing these talks on. It was actually a school up in Minnesota, and I guess these nudists thought that we weren't representing their communities appropriately, and so they got on there and talked about how beautiful their lifestyle was.
They didn't like hearing that they weren't as fun as marriage.
Yes, I wish it was that simple. Their anger went much deep. Much deep.
So you were in the radio promoting business.
Yep.
And then what was the moment where you said, okay, I'm going to... you started the nonprofit way before you went full-time with the nonprofit. So what's the history of the nonprofit?
Yeah, again, so 2003, I'm there at that Christian music label. I'm just like, my heart's going out to the people I see all around me. And so we invited all the single people we knew to a class on marriage, going through this one marriage book. And I wound up with a living room full of...
single ladies.
Yes. All the single ladies. So...
was it because they all wanted to get married and the guys had no interest in the marriage conversation?
No, actually, it's a little different than that. Guys don't need help. I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, they don't think they need... whereas the ladies are like, hey... I think this might be hard.
Yeah.
That was, we had to highly recruit guys groups. But then we developed what we called, well, we didn't develop it, but we identified what we call the single life crisis, where a person wakes up 10 plus years after graduating from college. If they're still single, they either think, my life sucks. I can't believe I invested all that time and energy into getting those degrees and then getting the job and then climbing the corporate ladder by kissing the corporate tush, and this is all I got. I got to get married. Or they wake up over here on this side of the continuum and they think my life rocks. I've accomplished a lot of my career goals, got to travel, think I'm ready to settle down and get married. Now, this person over here seems way better than the first person, but both people and everybody on the continuum in between have spent the last 10 plus years of their life almost entirely focused on their career. Mm-hmm. These are the people I was seeing, even in the Christian music industry, almost entirely focused on their career. And then even if they find that person that they can match up with in 29 different areas of compatibility, to which I say, number one, I'm looking at you right now. If you find someone you're matched up with in 29 different areas of compatibility, congratulations, you've won the relational lottery. But number two, it's the 30th area that's going to kill you, because we just aren't compatible, because we're sinners and we want our own way. Well, okay, I'll speak for myself. I'm a sinner and I want my own way most of the time, all the time. Yes, please. And so it was so hard at that time for them at that age to like try to revamp and go around and, okay, well, we're going to try to focus on this relationship angle instead of career. So we moved upstream, started talking to college students. Spoke at a bunch of campuses, did talks that got nudists angry at me. And then we came back home and focused even on high school students. So then I'm doing these classes just for high school students, one called Relationology we do every fall, which is the basic truths for thriving in relationships, any relationships, family, friendships, work, school. And then we did a dating class in the spring. I'm at a church, right? And this young adult guy comes up to me. This is about 4 years ago. And he goes, "Are you the MJ that does the Future Marriage University videos on YouTube?" It was my first real fan. I was like, anyway, all that to say, he wound up being on our board eventually. And that 30-something-year-old single guy, Callum Luff, thank you, Callum Luff, you're awesome. He's like, you're doing this stuff for high school students? You got to do this for young adults. I'm like, well, yeah, we did that way back in the... Anyway, we basically do the same classes.
I mean, it makes sense.
We do one for high school students, one for young adults, but the same material.
Foundations don't change.
Yeah, and we're not being taught this stuff. We're just not being taught it. So it's not stupidity. It's just uneducation. So it's been a blast. And so now we've come full circle, where we're still serving high school students, but now we're serving college and young adults at the same time. And again, you don't have to be in the Nashville area to come to our classes. We're right there online on the interwebs.
So what's a class look like for somebody, in case somebody's interested? It's like an 8-week thing.
Yep.
What does a class look like?
8 weeks, 2 hours per class. Sounds like a lot. But I'm telling you, we have a lot of material. We have a lot of discussion time. We have a lot of fun. Because our classes are about relationships, we want to come up with ways of helping the class actually learn those relational skills in the class. We encourage even though marriage is our middle name and FMU really can't take marriage, we can't take it out of the name, because then it wouldn't be FMU, it would be FU. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work well. But all that to say, most of our classes are like, hey man, go back, work on your relationship with your parents, work on your relationship with your siblings. Find good, solid friends, not who'll agree with you on everything, but who actually really care about you. Go back and find a church that you can invest in, because those are all the foundational things that then when you walk into a marriage and you don't have, you're still going to have baggage from the past because your parents hurt you or this or that, but that you've been working on that. Like, Stuart, can I call you out for a minute? After you went through a couple of our classes, did you not go to counseling?
Yeah, I did go to counseling.
Is it really my fault? No. But a lot of times people realize, I need to work. It's not what my parents did. It's not what the siblings did. It's not what this girlfriend that broke up with me did. I got stuff I need to work on in myself so I can be a healthy, whole person. I hate it when people introduce their spouse as, this is my better half. I'm like, well, I hope they're not a half person. I hope they're whole people. Okay. So, because marriage is not, 1/2 and 1/2 equals 1 is math, but 1 and 1 equals 1 is marriage. Paul calls it a mystery in the Bible. It's a pretty cool mystery too.
Yeah, it's my favorite journey that I've ever been on, marriage. It's so much fun.
Good.
So with all of that said, and with all of that in mind, there's a very divided political climate today.
Really?
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, the people pushing each other at the Tennessee State Capitol last night.
My goodness.
They're just very excited about
It's just very excited. It's
things.
Yeah. So how can people in this divided political culture that we're experiencing right now, and this is
even I would say divided political culture has created divided social culture.
Yeah.
divided families.
Yeah, so it bleeds into a lot of things.
Yeah, well, and ultimately, there's this guy named James Dobson that had a show called Focus on the Family that actually is still going, though he's not with them anymore. But all that to say, he was saying in the 80s that the family breakdown was going to lead to exactly what we're seeing today.
Yep.
And here's what the deal is. If I don't feel connected to my parents and my family, I feel alienated from them. I never learned how to get along with people up close. I rotate through multiple roommates almost more than once a year because I really haven't learned how to get along with people. It is so much easier to get along with people about a cause like LGBT or Trump or Antifa or insert your identity politics here. It's so much easier because you're actually not getting along with people in there. You're getting along apart from them.
Yep.
Check that out. Like you're not actually living with them. You're not rubbing yes, you're rubbing elbows when you're at a rally or whatever, but you're mostly interacting through social media. There's a barrier there. There's a protection there. And it's way easier to get along apart from people than it is to get along with people, which again is why I so urge you, if you're listening right now and you're like, man, he mentioned parents and I hate them. You start there. If you have to do what Stuart did, I have also got counseling. We all need some help there. But the more we can be connected to family, to real friends who really care and really want the best for you, the less we are driven like the waves of the sea with whatever's going politically, because we've never really learned how to get along with the people close to us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking, just coming into work here and seeing all the billboards about grow more hair. If you can't tell on the video, you can tell on the video. I do this, and look, I'm totally bald. All I got to do is do that. I'm looking at myself right now. I have no hair. And who cares? But in a culture that is so just vapid and empty of meaning, that is, I've seen that, even though it's on the billboards, I've seen, spider, get rid of your spider veins and fix your hair so that you can regain your quality of life. And I'm like, if that's where you think quality of life is, you're screwed, because it's not there. I don't care. I mean, look at Stuart. So, turn the camera to Stuart. Check out that head of hair. That is brilliant. I can't tell what's going on with Aaron's head because he's got a hat on. But Stuart, he didn't need to wear a hat. He's proud, loud. But all that to say, you've got to realize that happiness doesn't lie in all those shallow things. Your true, deep fulfillment lies in being connected, known, and being known by the important people in your life. And even if you come from some psycho family that's like, have you met my mother and father? Then you need to find a mentor, somebody at work, somebody at church, a neighbor down the street that just always seems kind, a Chick-fil-A employee. Find somebody that you can.
I like where your head's at.
Yeah. Well, come on. You're like there, and there's this one. Never. Now I was going to get off on the tangent, but learn how to grow healthy relationships there, and because again, going back to your thing about how do we have a healthy relationships in this contentious environment. I don't remember the theologian, but he said, what's the number one problem in the world? And he said, me. Yep. And when I can realize that the number one problem in this world is not what Trump supporters are doing, or LGBT people are doing, or whatever the people are doing, the number one problem is that I'm pretty much out for me and what I want. And the more I can learn to die to myself. And again, and this is where it comes, the importance of the family comes in. I can't die to myself for everybody in all of Nashville, even though I love Nashville. I love all you. Thank you. But I can for my wife. I can for my kids. I can for my church. Mm-hmm. I can for when I say my community, like my immediate little neighborhood, the people I interact with. So that's what I encourage. If you're out there and you're like, all just on edge and trying to, number one, let go of the spider veins and hair loss. Let go of that stuff. Focus on those relationships, the close ones, the real ones, the important ones, and develop those.
I think that theologian was Michael Jackson.
Really? Okay. I'll look. That's another MJ, by the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get mistaken for him.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
It's the classic dancing moves.
Yes. Yeah.
Aaron, what are your thoughts on all of this relationships talk?
Well, I think one of the things that, because you and Stuart have known each other even before I met Stuart, and one of the things that I think really got ingrained from the conversations that you guys have had is the word intentionality.
Oh, yeah.
And then because that's a word that Stuart uses a lot as well. So how does that play into everything that we have going on right now in the conversations that we've already had? Is intentionality important on the scale of these other stuff that we've talked about so far?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, in my book, Date Like You Know What You're Doing, we introduce this idea of friends first dating. And friends first dating is intentional time. What word were you asking about?
I think that was intentional.
Intentional, yeah. The first word is intentional time invested in one other person for the purpose of growing a relationship, a friendship that might lead to a life-giving, lifelong marriage. And you did somebody did you really tee me up? Like, we didn't talk about this ahead of time. But yeah, if you're not intentional, then you're just set to let other people set your agenda. And again, a lot of times when we get intentional about the wrong things. I'm going to get back my quality of life by getting my hair back. No, but setting it like, I'm going to be intentional about working on my roommate situation so that I'm going to learn how to get along with someone for the first time in my life. We're going to have a little talk. I'm going to figure out what things I can sacrifice to get along. But I mean, it does take intentionality. And the killer about intentionality is it's like, it's not like, well, I got to the starting line and when the gun went off, I started to run. No, you got to keep doing it. You got to keep going, even through the pain, even through the struggle. And you got to be intentional all along the way.
Well, and you talked about how you being in Nashville met a lot of people who are extremely career driven. I'm sure that's only escalated here with the culture, with the culture that we have in Nashville. How does intentionality, how does all of this stuff can this stuff even bleed into the, I don't want to say non-relational things, but just like your kind of life-driven purpose as well? Can it bleed outside into those realms?
Absolutely. Well, even like I keep bringing up hair loss and spider veins. Really, who am I thinking of when that's my focus? Am I really thinking, I'm going to lose my wife unless I get more hair? Am I really thinking my kids care a lot about? No, even you see how when my focus is on my family and my community, on my church, then my priorities are set an entirely different way than I am if, because again, does my wife want me to be successful at my career so maybe that I can bring home money and pay bills? Sure. Yeah. But I mean, that's different than I got to be successful so that I get an award so everybody in my industry can think I'm amazing. I got the top award for my little tiny alleyway of the music industry. I was record promoter of the year for the CMB, Christian Music Broadcasters. It's just, again, I was number one in this one little tiny part of the world. And that just shows you how incredibly stupid it would be to have all my focus on that. But in fact, the reason I believe I won that award is because I was intentional about really caring about the people that I was calling. I knew that I was just barely above the long-distance salesperson when I was calling them. In other words, they really didn't want to talk to a record promoter. They can listen to music all on their own. They don't need me to remind them, did you listen to that new Mercy Me song? No, they're like, yeah, I'm going to get to that. They don't need that. But I knew where I stood, but at the same time, I knew what my job was, to be like, okay, well, but please, listen to it this week. And it affected how I approached them.
Just kind of on another random side thing, there are a lot of probably a huge difference in the promotion side of music right now is everybody's promoting their own music more than promoters are promoting other people's music. What is an effective strategy for, because this has changed, it's not a radio you're trying to get to.
It's Spotify.
It's Spotify.
Totally.
It's
SoundCloud.
I don't even know. Again, I haven't done this since 2015.
Yeah.
The record promotions business ended end of 2015.
Yeah.
But I saw even then, I was like, oh my goodness, eventually all these radio guys are going to ask me is, what's this doing on Spotify? What's this doing on YouTube? What's this doing? I'm going to have to tell them a true story about what this album is doing online, or else I'll be screwed. So it is amazing watching that.
It is totally changed.
And even when I was doing record promotions, there was a guy whose name I'm not going to think of, which just kills me. But he had done this remix of this old worship song, like this old worship chorus from the 80s.
Was it Chris Tomlin?
No. This is not. You would know his name, but it's not nearly as big as Chris Tomlin. All that to say, he was like, "Hey, could you promote this song for me?" And I listened to it, and I was like, this is not great. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't great.
Yeah.
Dude promoted it on his own, got it on all the fish stations, which we're talking Dallas, Nashville, Atlanta, did it chart? Did it get top 10? No, I don't think so. But this guy on his own got his own, and that was way back when. So I can't imagine the opportunities today. If God had been, they've just, I don't miss it either, by the way.
So here in the next couple weeks, you have your annual fundraiser.
Yes.
And I'm actually sponsoring a table. We can talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
What is this? What's the goal of the fundraiser, and what day is it happening?
Yep. Buttloads of money.
And where is it happening?
Buttloads of money. is the goal. No, I'm just kidding. Actually,
No, I'm just
it is a fundraiser. There is that. But we really want to, again, this whole idea of that we're doing, it's not as crazy and unusual as it seemed 20 years ago when we started doing it. But still, it's sometimes hard for people to get their mind around. So you're talking about marriage and relationships and stuff like that with people that aren't even coupled up yet. I'm like, yes, the same way you talk to kids in high school and college about careers when they're not employed yet, because you want, when they get employed, for them to know what they're doing.
And finance, right? A lot of people will be like, hey, let's put more financial curriculum into high school, so that way when they're out in the real world, they know what to do with their money.
Yeah, and
Same
it's
principle.
like, thank you. It maybe relationships might be as important as finances, maybe not, but assuming they would, let's get that going. So
what's the day of the fundraiser? Where is it?
It is April 18th. It starts at 6:30. It is at 1819 Coffee Shop, just south of 840 off of Columbia.
Yep.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful venue down there. And it'll be a great night. We have lots of great food, barbecue and brisket. I know Tennessee people like their pork, but
just a little bit.
If you're a real barbecue person, you like brisket. So we're having brisket. Also, tons of desserts. It used to be just a dessert party. So like we have like $5.
Stepping it up.
Yeah, but we even the desserts are still there, like $5 donuts, and I mean we've got great dessert stuff.
And can somebody sign up online?
Absolutely. If you go to fmuniversity.net, you will see a little banner on our little front banner thing that talks about that says an evening with FMU. That's what we're calling it.
And Stuart and I were there last year. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Would highly recommend anybody who's interested in that topic to absolutely go.
Yeah. It's just
you also came up with the idea. I'm sponsoring a table.
Yes.
So I have a few seats available. So talk about your idea.
Can you imagine? Imagine coming to the FMU Fundraiser of the Year and sitting at the table with Stuart and Amanda Deming. I thought that would be awesome.
Yeah. So we have a few seats available. Trying to figure out the logistics of that.
Yeah, not many, but I think they should, how do they reach out to you to be like, wait, we want to be at your table?
DM my personal Instagram account, and that's Stuart, Stuart, Deming, Deming. DM my personal Instagram account, and we'll get that set up.
Yeah. Again, if you care about marriage, if you care about relationships, you're gonna hear testimonies from students that have been through our classes. A college girl that read my book and was like blown away. So
and then you also have parents usually speak as well.
Yeah, we won't this year.
Okay.
Music, of course, local Nashville musicians playing. It's just and you'll get to hear me, and I'm hilarious, really. No, for real. This is when you're supposed to put the laugh track in.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, we don't have one.
We didn't plan that ahead of time.
Well,
Michael, where could people follow you on social media? Where they can subscribe to your YouTube channel and all those things?
Yes, again, fmuniversity.net. F as in future, M as in marriage, university.net. And FM University is also for the YouTube, for the Facebook, for the Twitter, and for the Instagram.
For the TikTok?
For the gram. No, not I'm sorry.
Not
I'm not nearly. They wouldn't let me on. I'm sorry,
You
dude.
talk about too healthy of a thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the Nashville Daily Podcast or listening. Head over to NashvilleDailyPodcast.com to see the show notes and visit Michael's website. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening to the Nashville Daily Podcast. If you want to learn more, head to NashvilleDailyPodcast.com.
You can also follow us on social media at explore.nash on Instagram, Nashville Daily Podcast on YouTube, and explore.nash on YouTube as well.
The Nashville Daily Podcast is an Explore LLC production, copyright 2023.